Hello again, Bill Jones, recapturefederalism.com. Recapturefederalism.com to take off on Recapture Federalist Paper 51, which is a basis of our government. That and the authority of God. I have up on the screen, I'm not going to be showing my face today. I've shown it enough in the past, but I'm going to show, this is page 91 on the notice of treason I sent to 7 people. This is page 91. By the way, I sent it to 7 people. John Roberts, Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. Speaker Paul Ryan. Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. James Comey, Director of the FBI, Governor Rauner, State of Illinois, that's where I live, State of Illinois, Rita B. Garman, Chief Justice of the Illinois Supreme Court, and Leo Smits, the Director, Illinois State Police. I sent it to 7 people back in January, January 25th, I mailed it out. 2016. That's the day I believe that Mr. Finicum was assassinated by law enforcement out in Oregon. Assassinated, yes. And just like Waco, Texas and Ruby Ridge, nobody will be prosecuted or investigated or anything. It's crimes against humanity. And might as well give you the title today. Southern Poverty Law Center. Anti-Semitic. Anti-Christian. Anti-government extremist. Oh, Bill, what are you saying? Yeah, we're talking communism, like I always do. I got 4 years I've been talking communism. 200 and some videotapes, video presentations on my website, YouTube. And I got to thank Oath Keepers. I'm a member of Oath Keepers. Oath Keepers sending out a copy, and they did an article. Stuart Rhodes did an article about Southern Poverty Law Center. And he showed the video from Southern Poverty with Mr. Kavanaugh. I didn't know he was Waco Jim. I did back in 2013, I guess, or 2014, I forget now. I did a presentation about Waco. I did one about the same time about Ruby Ridge, about Japanese internment, about Wounded Knee, the MOVE organization, not move.org, moveon.org, but the MOVE organization in Philadelphia in the 1980s. They were bombed by police from a helicopter. Started a big fire, and I forget how many people were killed. 11 homes destroyed by fire, incendiary bombs. That's crimes against humanity too. All those are crimes against humanity. Because, as you see, the title of my graphic at page 91 that I sent in, notice, Silent Secret American Insurrection and Revolutionary Movement. That's right. That's right. And the problem I have with Southern Poverty Law Center is they're pro-communist, pro-democratic party, which I'll get into later. I associate them together. Pro-socialist, progressive all those things. And they come out with hate groups, and but it's an incomplete list. There's so yeah, you see down here communism and communist criminal class and communist confession of faith and John 15:18-27 hate. That's where they're going to talk about hate. Now see, they're anti-Christian and anti-Semitic. I say that because if they would, they'd have the criteria of hate, which is hating our government. And the biggest hate group we have is the Democratic Party in the United States. They're insurgents, communist community organizers, soldiers. I'll get into that in a little bit. Then the other side, you have Federal System of America. Where does that come from? That comes from Federalist Paper 51. That's our government. By the way, based upon Romans chapter 13, which is Judaism. It's 14 verses, and only one verse mentions Christ. That's 14. The 13th, verse 13, mentions God. Mentions God. Judaism. And the Southern Poverty Law Center is anti-Semitic, anti-Christian. That's right. And they see down there, Federal System of America, free citizens class, patriots, Tea Party people, we the people of the United States, and we the people of the states, individual states, and based upon Romans chapter 13. And John 15:1-17, love. Yeah, love. While I'm at it, they might as well say Southern Poverty Law Center is anti-Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Yeah, they ought to read about love and from a traditional Christian leader. From a letter from the Birmingham jail, 1963. That's prior to the subversion of Mr. King and Dr. King, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Subverted 1965 by people like Reverend Jackson. He's not a Christian. He is a liberation theologist. Liberation theology. Communism. Head of the gangs. By the way, there's no gangs on the Southern Poverty Law Center list of hate groups. No gangs. We'll get into that too. They don't list the Democratic Party. 91 pages that I put in for treason. Notice the treason. A lot of the stuff is from here. A lot of this stuff, a lot of Bible stuff, and the basis of the authority from God, of government. And the Communist Confession of Faith, the principles of communism, it's all in there. The laws in there. 18 U.S.C., chapter 115, 2381 through 2389, I believe. 9 sections. Yeah, they're all there. They're all there. And we're going to get into this. Mr. Kavanaugh, talked about him, and I have to he's Stuart Rhodes says he's an oath breaker. He's an oath breaker. The entire service of his country to his country. Man, I probably should say his entire service to the Democratic Party and the Communistic Revolution, because I think that's who he was in favor of. Since he's with the Southern Poverty Law Center and speaking for them now. The largest hate group. Anyway, I give my oath. I, William R. Jones, do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, so help me God. I first took that oath in July 1965 when I joined the United States Navy. The enemy then was communism, as the enemy now is communism. That's right, it's communism. It's communism. And what about that oath? We have Democrats back in the 50s. They did a big deal back in the 60s. The young guys might not be aware of this. I was a kid at the time. They didn't believe we should be taking the loyalty oaths. Article 6 of the Constitution, by the way. Oh, no, we don't have to take oaths. Oaths, no. Same people started the insurrection, restarted it in 1965. And where do we get the oath from? Exodus 27, verse 7. You shall not take a false oath in the name of the Lord your God, for the Lord will not declare him innocent who takes an oath in his name falsely. That's from my Bible, which is the Lampsist Bible. Some of the other Bibles take the Lord's name in vain. Okay, same thing. I use Aramaic to English. It's a clearer version. Don't get caught up in all the interpretations. Yeah, I'm going to get right into it. I'll probably say it a couple times during this presentation. Page 26 of the Communist Manifesto. There are, besides eternal truths such as freedom, justice, etc., that are common to all states of society, but communism abolishes eternal truths. It abolishes all religion and all morality. Instead of constituting them on a new basis, it therefore acts in contradiction to all past historical experience. They contradict the Ten Commandments. They follow the evil spirits. Communism abolishes eternal truth and abolishes all religion and all morality. You see my list down there? They abolished the Judeo-Christian moral code. That's our code of government. That's a code of law. So they believe in murder, slavery, all this kind of stuff, because they abolished the moral code and all morality. Page 34, the Communist Manifesto. Finally, they labor everywhere for the union and the agreement of democratic parties of all countries. The union and the democratic parties, they're side by side. They're side by side. Go back to Roosevelt, Wagner Act, National Relief Authority. Oh yeah, Yalta Agreement, all the communist stuff, union stuff, agreement with communist Stalin in 1945, Yalta Agreement. Yeah, communism, communist criminal class. And I continue reading. Page 34 of the Communist Manifesto. The communists disdain to conceal their views' names. They openly declare that their ends can be attained only by forcible overthrow of all existing social conditions. Let me repeat that. They openly declare that their ends can be attained only by the forcible overthrow of all existing social conditions. The unions and democratic parties. Boy, that's a hate group there, isn't it? That's an anti-government extremist. They're against we the people. They're against the free citizens class. We the people. They're against us. Forcible overthrow of all existing social... Forcible overthrow of all existing social conditions. Oh, you're going to love this next sentence. Oh, you're going to love this next sentence. And let me read it. Let the ruling classes tremble at the communistic revolution. The proletarians have nothing to lose but their chains. They have a world to win. Unions and agreement in the democratic parties of all countries get a forcible overthrow of all existing social conditions. Let the ruling classes tremble at the communistic revolution. We're going to get into that. This 2383 section of 18 USC talks about revolution and insurrection. Yeah, working men of all countries unite. And when I say this, they united back on May 4th, 1886, when the forcible overthrow started and the insurrection started. It's been peaceful and violent. They did this and they're expanding and what have you. May 4th, 1886, Haymarket Square, Chicago. 7 Chicago police officers killed by a dynamite bomb. 7 police officers killed. And before I go over to the law, should say one more thing about trembling. The ruling class trembling. The ruling class in the United States is we the people. And they want them, and they do, by all sorts of means, intimidate the general populace, which is crimes against humanity. Tremble. Make people tremble. Those are terrorists. They're terrorists. In Southern Poverty Law Center, why don't you have the terrorist groups? Gangs, insurgents, insurgent party, political supremacy, party supremacy, the Democratic Party, the Republican Party. Why don't you have all of them on there? They've been terrorizing this country for over 100 years. Why don't you have them on their list as a hate group? Now let's go into the law here. First of all, I want to talk about law. Treason. Treason, by the way, comes from common law and written law, too, from the British Commonwealth, Great Britain, England. Treason Act, 1351. 1351 Treason Act. We talk about treason in the 7 deadly sins and greed, betrayal, murder, treason, greed, greed, power structure, political party supremacy, greed, violating the Judeo-Christian moral code. And I say their Southern Poverty Law Center is anti-Christian, anti-Semitic also. When I say anti-Christian, I'm going to include Judaism also. Christianity, of course, is based upon Judaism and laws and Ten Commandments. Year 1530. Luther and the other Protestant Reformationist came out with the Augsburg Confession of Faith, presented it to Holy Roman Empire, clarification of the standing conflict between Christians and Jews. Article 16 has to do with civil affairs. I'm going to read this to you because it's directly related to the government of the United States, our political system, Constitution, Declaration of Independence, the Judeo-Christian Moral Code, Article 16 of Civil Affairs. Of civil affairs, they teach that lawful civil ordinances are good works of God, and that it is right for Christians to bear civil office, to sit as judges, to judge matters by imperial and other existing laws, to award just punishment, to engage in just wars, to serve as soldiers, to make legal contracts, to hold property, to make oath when required by magistrates, to marry a wife, or to be given in marriage. Yeah. Ten Commandments are all right in there. All right in there. Engage in just wars. David, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, standing up. King Nebuchadnezzar and that. David, of course, standing up for Goliath. And that's sort of what I'm doing too, isn't it? Yeah. A lot of hate groups out there. A lot of people don't want to talk about treason. It's in the Constitution, Article 3, Section 3. And Southern Poverty Law Center, they're into this LBGT whatever rights. That's anti-Christian, anti-Semitic. Right here, I'm telling you. To marry a wife, to be given in marriage between a man and a woman. Then the last paragraph in Article 16 of Civil Affairs. They condemn also those who do not place evangelical perfection in the fear of God and in faith, but in forsaking civil offices, for the gospel teaches an eternal righteousness of the heart. Meanwhile, it does not destroy the state or the family, but very much requires that they be preserved as ordinances of God, and that charity be practiced in such ordinances. Therefore, Christians are necessarily bound to obey their own magistrates and laws, save only when commanded to sin, for then they ought to obey God rather than men. Acts 5:29. That's for you people, Southern Poverty Law Center. That's a book in the Bible and the New Testament. New Testament. Okay? So when you pass laws about same-sex marriage, and you're following page 52 of the Communist Manifesto under the principles of communism, where they destroy traditional marriage. Yeah, the Communist Manifesto, the Communist Confession of Faith, the guidelines of the Communist Party 1921 are all hate, tools of Satan. Tools of Satan. Yeah. Written up and produced by communist disciples or directly by, in the case of the Communist Manifesto and Communist Confession of Faith, by two atheists, Engels and Marx. Also page 52 also, I believe, which I'll probably read. I don't know if I'll get to it or not today. But you go in there and read it yourself. They want to make religion disappear. Yeah, yeah. Judeo-Christian moral code disappear. George Washington said in Farewell Address, 1796. Badmouth political parties, about 5 or 6 paragraphs, and then about 4 or 5 paragraphs talks about religion and morality. And he said you cannot have morality without religion. Without religion. Then we're going to get into the 18 U.S.C. Chapter 115. It's a 1909 law, treason, sedition, and subversive activities. I'm not going to talk about the ones that 50 years we've had discrimination. I was discriminated when I was in the Navy in the entire time I was in the Navy. But I mentioned it in the past. By Harvard students and faculty come and they demonstrated against us, discriminated against us in South Boston Naval Shipyard, or it really was Army Depot. Yeah, USS Wasp. Primary mission of USS Wasp, CVS-18, was anti-submarine warfare at the time, going out and looking for communist Soviet submarines in the Atlantic. And they were demonstrating against anti-war. Not anti-Vietnam War, no, anti-Cold War. And they were communist. Communist. School of Communism. Anyway, and that comes under the 2388 and 2389, 2390. 2389 is 2388 is activities affecting armed forces during war, and we've been in war against communism for over 100 years. So I won't talk about them in detail, but I'll go back up to section 2381, which is treason. Whoever owing allegiance to the United States levies war against them and adheres to their enemies, giving them aid and comfort within the United States or elsewhere, is guilty of treason and shall suffer death, or shall be imprisoned not less than 5 years, a fine up to this title not less than $10,000. Yeah. And then I filed under 2382, which is misprison the treason. I'm aware of treason, so I'm telling the people that they're doing it. Now, I've notified them, and they should be doing something about it, and they're not. And if they're not, that means they're committing treason. That means they're committing treason. That's 2382, misprison of treason. 2383, rebellion and insurrection. Yeah. Black Lives Matter. Gangs. Terrorists. And they are terrorists in the state of Illinois. Won't get into it today. But their street gangs are considered terrorist organizations. Don't have them. Don't have them on their hate list. Don't have them on your hate list. Didn't have them insurrection down at Ferguson, when the Bloods and the Crips and the gangs out of Chicago come down there. Nixon, the president, the governor of Missouri should have called out the National Guard. Didn't call them out. Didn't call them out. Calls the federal Department of Justice in, another hate organization, Civil Rights Division, Black Civil Rights Division, hate, Congressional Black Caucus, hate group, communist group. 2383, rebellion or insurrection. Whoever incites, sets on foot, assists, or engages in a rebellion or insurrection against the authority of the United States or laws thereof, or gives aid or comfort thereto, shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 10 years, or both, blah, blah, blah. Seditious conspiracy. 2384. If two or more persons in any state or authority or any place subject to the jurisdiction conspire to overthrow, put down, or destroy by force the government of the United States, or to levy war against them, or to oppose any force or authority thereof, or force, or by force to prevent, hinder, or delay the execution of any law of the United States, or by force to seize, take, or possess any property of the United States contrary to the authority thereof, shall each be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 20 years, or both. Now, there's overthrowing of the government. I read that, didn't I? Page 34 of the Communist Manifesto. Overthrowing all existing social conditions and governments, societies, wars against, crimes against humanity, genocide. It's all they do. Enslavement of the people. Or by force to prevent, hinder, or delay the execution of any law. And since I have put this in January 25th, Mr. Comey, who I sent notice to it, what does he do? He prevents, hinders, or delays the execution of the law. And Hillary Clinton, Department of Justice, she's Loretta Lynch, she's a Democrat, Democratic Party. The president's a Democrat, Democratic Party. They're all out to overthrow the government. They're all anti-government extremists themselves. Why do you have them on the list? Hate list. Then we have advocating the overthrow of government. Whoever knowing or willfully advocates, abets, advises, or teaches the duty, necessity, desirability, or propriety of overthrowing or destroying the government of the United States, the government of any state, territory, district, possession thereof, or the government of any political subdivision therein by force or violence, or by assassination of any officer of any such government. I nearly put police in there because police, any constitutional soldiers, military personnel, National Guards people, they'll take oath. I take oath. Assassination of any officer of any such government. Police officers, Baton Rouge, Dallas, Pennsylvania State Police, California Highway Patrol, New York City, Chicago. Yeah. Don't read about that in the Chicago Tribune, do you? No. Major news reporting. No. Don't talk about treason, the assassination of police officers. No, they'd have to admit their insurrection. And they're all advocating, as is the southern part of the law center. Yeah, advocating the overthrow of government. That was paragraph 1 that I read. Here's paragraph 2. Whoever with intent to cause the overthrow or destruction of any such government prints, publishes, edits, issues, circulates, sells, distributes, or publicly displays any written or printed matter advocating, advising, or teaching the duty, necessity, desirability, or propriety of over-destroying or destroying any government of the United States by force or violence, or attempts to do so, or you're going to love this next paragraph. This is our president, who in Chicago was a community organizer, right? A communist community organizer, I might add. A communist soldier. Okay. And the previous paragraph I just read, that's all your newspapers. All your on-air personalities. They're talking up the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, which is nothing but a Democratic Party by a Republican name. They no longer do the Republican principles of America. They're a hate group also. But anyway, go read the next paragraph. Whoever organizes or helps or attempts to organize any society, group, or assembly of persons who teach, advocate, or encourage the overthrow or destruction of any such government by force or violence, or becomes or is a member of or affiliates with any such society, group, or assembly of persons knowingly for the purpose thereof, shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 20 years, or both, or shall be ineligible for employment by the United States or any department or agency thereof for 5 years next following this conviction. Then the next paragraph has to do with conspiracy. If two or more persons, so you have a group like Southern Poverty Law Center, there's more than 2 people in there. This would cover you people also. If 2 or more persons conspire or commit any offense named in this section, shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 20 years, or both, and shall be ineligible for employment for the United States or any department, agency thereof, or 5 years next following this conviction, or his conviction. So, if you're part of an organization, if you're an organizer, the head of the organization, or if you're part of the organization, you're all going to be 20 years. And I suppose if you're a head and then you're also a member of the organization, you get 40 years, I guess. And the last paragraph in this section, the last part I'm going to read, as used in this section, the terms organizes or organize with respect to any society, group, or assembly of persons include the recruiting of new members, the forming of new units, or regrouping and expansion of existing clubs, classes, or other units of such society, group, or assembly of persons. Wow, man. Wow. So not only the old group, but any new groups you get involved here. And I suppose that includes, under the laws of the Internal Revenue, tax-free groups, the IRS, they would also be included in this as anti-government extremists too. But anyway, and let me just read one more, or talk one more thing before I go. Let me reiterate. Page 26 of the Communist Manifesto, there are besides eternal truths such as freedom, justice, etc., which always include liberty and their property rights and all that are common to all states of society. But communism abolishes eternal truth, it abolishes all religion and all morality. And that's where I get this anti-Semitic, anti-Christian, anti-all peaceful religions And since the government was founded by the framers and founders from a divine inspiration and the authority of God, and they talk about God in the Declaration of Independence, the supreme judge of the world. Yeah, that's where we're getting anti-Semitic, anti-Christian, anti-government. But communism abolishes eternal truth. It abolishes all religion, all morality. Goodbye, Moses. Goodbye, David. Goodbye, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Goodbye, Jesus Christ. Goodbye, the 12 apostles. Oh, man. Goodbye, Judeo-Christian moral code. Goodbye, goodbye. Then page 34, the Communist Manifesto. Finally, they labor everywhere for the union and agreement of the democratic parties of all countries. Union and Democratic Party of all countries. Yeah. The communists disdain to conceal their views and aims. They openly declare that their ends can be attained only by the forcible overthrow of all existing social conditions. Let me repeat, forcible overthrow of all existing social conditions. And what are we talking about in 18 U.S.C. Chapter 115? We're talking about the overthrow, advocating the overthrow. Let the ruling classes tremble at the communistic revolution. Revolution. 2383. Insurrection, revolution. And let the ruling classes tremble. That's we the people. We the people. Criminals. Democratic Party is criminals. They are a criminal enterprise. And that's where you get support from the Southern Poverty Law Center. They don't have a fair and balanced hate groups. They're one-sided. Mr. Kavanaugh, who hindered and prevented and delayed the execution of laws at Waco, Texas. No justice, no peace. Crimes against humanity. Genocide. Abortion is genocide. And with that, I'm going to be going for the day. I'll be going for the day, and I think I'm going to be doing a bunch of these about these anti-government extremists. There's lots of people in this country anti-government extremists. Come and visit me, recapturefederalism.com, or on Twitter, Bill Space Jones at Federalist Num 51. Federalist Num 51. Have a nice day. Bye.